Hello everyone, my name is Roya, and today I will be telling you about the books that I read in the latter half of February, and there were a bunch of them. So the first one I'm going to talk about is one that I really thought I was going to love. I was really excited to read it. It sounded so up my alley, and I actually ended up hating it. It was actually a DNF 2/3 of the way in. That is War Prize by Elizabeth Vaughn. So this is a romance fantasy, which is totally what I was looking for. I was really excited to read this, and it ended up being a huge letdown, mostly because there is actually no romance in the entire book, and the love interest is barely in it. Any romance that there was in it was hugely underdeveloped, and the plot was honestly just boring as shit. So the main reason that I really ended up just absolutely hating this book is what I'm going to discuss in a second. So if discussions of rape will send you into a panic attack or anything, please feel free to skip ahead to where I'm not holding this book up anymore. But basically, this book was full of stuff about her getting repulsed by and turned on by the same things, and that was just very, very icky to me. It actually got to the point where there's actually a part where she is being accosted in an alleyway and she thinks she's about to get raped, like they shove her against the wall and everything, and then it turns out they're not assaulting her at all. They are just trying to get information from her, and she actually is disappointed that she's not being raped, which is really gross, and that's not how it works at all. And there are enough douchey people out there who will say things like, well, so what if that girl got raped? At least she got laid, when that's actually not the same thing at all, and that it's so wrong. Their perception of what rape is already very wrong, and for many people in our society. And so this book honestly just perpetuated that wrong idea. So overall, this book ended up being hugely problematic, and I do not use that word lightly. In fact, I have never used that word on this channel, and also, I am not sensitive to the topic of rape in books at all. I grew up with historical fiction, which has tons and tons of rape in it. If rape is in a book, fine. It goes right over my head. It doesn't upset me whatsoever, but the way that the love subplot or whatever is treated in this book was very, very rapey, and I'm a person who loves Outlander, okay? Like, come on. When I say something is too rapey, it is, okay? So basically this entire book was one gigantic thing of can we not? And I gave it 1 star. Next I read the entire Wilde Chronicles by Robin Hobb, and I really, really ended up loving this quartet. This is the 4th series in her Land of the Elderlings series, and this one is pretty badass. I'm not sure if I like it more than the other ones or not. I still think the Live Ship Traders trilogy was the best one. So in this, we see the return of a lot of the characters from the Live Ship Traders trilogy, but a lot of them are not main characters anymore, and we get new main characters. So what I enjoyed the most about this is that we have a gay main character, and he has like a couple of different love subplots, and his entire corner of the story was the most entertaining to me. I really, really loved the fact that we get a gay character in a fantasy book who has like the trials and tribulations of a love subplot and whatnot, and being with the wrong person and then finding the right person and all of that other stuff. It was super, super cool to see, and there were a lot of badass dragons and a lot of badass main characters and all of that. So the first book and the last one were my favorite ones because they just had the most fast-paced plot. The second and third ones were very slow compared to the first and last ones. There was just a lot of traveling and whatnot, and I was actually really annoyed for most of the second book because it got very much into a bunch of soap opera-y stuff between the Dragon Keepers. Like, not only were there several like love triangles and love squares among them, but actually there was this whole hugely uncomfortable thing where the male dragon keepers are trying to make each of the female dragon keepers choose between them, because there are only like 3 chicks and a bunch of dudes, and the dudes are like, well, I don't care if you're not interested in any of us, you have to pick one of us or else we're all gonna fight over you and blah blah blah. And that made me really uncomfortable because obviously it's not the girl's fault if the dudes can't keep it in their pants. So that was very boring to read about and very annoying. And that sort of continued throughout the whole story, like the soap opera-iness did, but the second book is the one that had the most, well, you have to pick between us, meh, meh, meh. So overall, I really enjoyed this series, and I only have one series left to go in the Land of the Elderlings, I guess. I'm really, really glad that I've made it this far and that it's all been really awesome. The next book I'm going to talk about is the story of Edgar Sawtelle, and I really don't have a lot to say about this book because it was pretty simple, like, and straightforward, but this was my first audiobook of the year because I don't get a whole lot of audiobook listening time anymore because I'm not driving as much at all. So because of that, I've been listening to audiobooks of books I already have, so that if it's time to return them to the library, I have the book and I can just pick it right up and read the rest. But anyway, this book is about a boy who, for most of this story, is about 13 or 14 years old, and his family breeds and trains the best working dogs out there, basically. They're bred to be really smart, and they train them for a year before they sell them and everything, so they're able to sell them for a very high price. And his grandfather, like, started the whole line of that. So it started off in this very East of Eden-y way where it actually goes through his grandfather, starting the whole breeding of the dogs and then going down to where Edgar is born and blah blah blah, and then he grows up and he can't speak or anything, so he has to, for some reason, like, he can hear just fine, he just can't speak, so he has to do sign language all the time. So this was pretty interesting. It's kind of historical-y. I'm not entirely sure when it takes place, but it's definitely older than the modern day. So basically it was pretty interesting, but then it really started to fall apart somewhere around the middle, where it tried to turn into a crime novel and sort of failed, and a bunch of very out of character stuff happened that made no sense. There's also a slight paranormal element that really did not fit and did not work for me. But overall, this book was really good, but it also wasn't, and I kind of just thought it was meh. And I also had no freaking clue what happened at the end at all because nothing got explained, but oh well. Next, I read Invictus by Ryan Groudon, and this is a book about a time traveler who is the son of a time traveler and a gladiator because his mom just had an affair with the gladiator. They were in love and stuff, but she wasn't supposed to because you're not supposed to do that when you're off in a different time period because you might be messing with history or something. So she, like, travels back in time again, like she leaves that time period and has a baby. So it's definitely a very interesting concept, a very good story. I was very immersed in the plot and everything, like, it was very fast-paced and whatnot, but the reason that it kind of fell apart for me a little bit is because I don't feel like we got to know the characters very well because they mostly had quirks instead of actual personality traits. Like, I really could not think of what they would do in any sort of situation because they didn't appear to have that much personality. So the ending and everything, like all the stuff leading up to the ending and the ending, like, it feels very melancholy. It's sad in the way that, like, the end of the first Sailor Moon season is sad, like, where you kind of, like, they don't remember each other anymore and they have to become friends all over again and all that other stuff. Like, it's melancholy in sort of that way, where it's a happy ending where they accomplished what they wanted to, but it's also sad. And I feel like that could have been so much more epic and so much better, and it almost would have moved me to tears if I had just gotten to know the characters a little bit more. Finally, we have my favorite book of 2018 so far, and that is The Liar Thief by Jennifer Fallon. I am so excited to be back in this world again. I'm so happy to finally have read this book. It was amazing, and I love these characters so much. The characters that I found very bland in the Demon Child trilogy were barely in it. So this is the third series in her Hythrun Chronicles, and so far just this book is out, but technically the second book came out last year, but I can't find it anywhere, and it's literally nowhere ever, but Goodreads says it's out, so I don't know what the deal is there. Anyway, I absolutely adored this book and everything that happened in it. It definitely had some very suspenseful stuff and some shocking stuff and just everything, and it is absolute genius gold. Please read Jennifer Fallon. By the way, I'm going to be doing a video soon about where to start with Jennifer Fallon, because I do get a lot of comments asking me what books I recommend starting with Jennifer Fallon and with Mercedes Lackey, so I figured that since I read like most of her books last year, I thought I should probably do that video. So you can look forward to that. So these are the books that I read in the second half of February. I'm pretty sure I more than made up for only reading like 4 books in the entire month of January, so I guess that's cool. So anyway, if you've read any of these, let me know what your thoughts are, and I will see you very soon with a new video. Bye!